happy retirement, Forley! Forley, come. Good girl. Oh, good girl. Today is October 11th, 2025, and after 10 incredible years of service, my third guide dog and co-founder of this channel. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Forward with Forley. Forward! Good girl! Good girl. Forley, this little black blob in the bottom of the frame, is retiring. It's a bittersweet moment. She's really been an incredible dog. We've been on some amazing adventures. We've crisscrossed the country dozens of times. We've logged hundreds of foot miles, thousands of air miles. Mm-hmm. We've been to over 30 states.
Impressive.
She helped me, of course, close the distance with the love of my life, Melissa, and Aaron, who's happily snoozing away on his bed on the floor. And it's just really been, an amazing dog. I don't know what to say. She's done a lot of things. I taught her to paddleboard. She's conquered New York City. She's been in the deepest river gorge in North America. That's Hell's Canyon out in eastern Washington State. She led me into the guide dog field and my professional work in that industry. I don't know. There's just so many things I could say. This video could be, 100 years long if I keep going. But what about you, Melissa? What do you have to say about Forley and her retirement?
Well, the first thing that you learn about Forley when you meet her is how much she licks. If you've ever been licked by Forley, you're pretty lucky. That's her way of saying that she loves you, as well as that powerful tail wag. So that's one of my favorite things about Forley. She loves to face bomb me, especially when I'm putting my shoes on. She just loves to zip in there, lick me, run away. That's our little thing. And I love that about her. I love that she's so sweet and affectionate and driven, and she loves making you happy. She's not in your face about it, but she is definitely the type of dog that thrives off of you loving her and her loving you. And it's been inspiring for me, to say the least, watching you two work together and everything you've accomplished. And I've only been a part of this journey for a couple years now, so I can only imagine seeing those couple years, what the rest of those 8 must have looked like. Plenty to celebrate, and also plenty to grieve. Retiring a guide dog is not easy. We're going to talk a bit more about what that means, what are the things that we think about as handlers, and how can you support us through this journey.
People often think of retirement as this happy milestone, and in the human world, it is, right? If you've been at a company for 30, 40 years, maybe you've done some great things, maybe you invented something, you retire, and it's this huge milestone. It's amazing. They get you a cake, they give you a gold watch, maybe a pension plan. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see that in our generation. But anyway, comments aside, it's very happy, but with a guide dog, it's bittersweet, right? I'm really happy for Forley that she is retiring. She chose this path. She chose to be a guide dog, and she chose to retire as one. That's Aaron over there agreeing. But it's also, there's loss, right? I mean, you've had this dog for 10 years. You form a very deep, passionate, familial bond.
A communication style that's uniquely its own. You learn how to tell each other and signal to each other in and out. It's unique with every single dog. And how do you possibly conceptualize not having that or building that with another dog, right? It's a lot to consider, and certainly I could not agree more. It's a bittersweet time.
It absolutely is. So in all of that, we get a lot of questions about guide dog retirement.
We do?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start with some of those.
One of the most common questions I hear a lot is, how do you know when it's time to retire a guide dog?
There's no straightforward answer. Sometimes the dog retires for a medical reason, so something very black and white, like, look, I have arthritis. I can't walk the 4 miles a day. Or maybe the dog says, hey man, like you live in Midtown Manhattan and I cannot do finance on Wall Street anymore.
That's a lot, yeah.
Or deal with Grand Central every day, you know, as you commute in and out of the city. Those are in some ways easier because it's sort of happening. It's in some ways more tragic because you're sort of forced to confront it right away, but it's very fact-based. Then there's other types of retirement, such as a dog just getting tired, like Forley's case. You know, Forley could work till the day that she dies, but you know, through her work, she sort of started to tell me in her own little unique way of communicating that, hey, like I could keep doing this, and that's okay. But, you know, I think I'd like to step down from this role and to hang up my harness and be a professional couch warmer. So you have to kind of read the dog. I sought a lot of counsel from friends, family, guide dog professionals in the field who I trust deeply, and was able to find some good information to help me make sort of this really big, informed choice. And it's hard. It's going to take a while to kind of settle down, you know, emotionally, but it's part of the process. It's part of what you sign up for.
Absolutely. And we sign up for it over and over.
What about where the dogs go? That's one that I feel like people have been asking us lately. So where does a retired guide dog go? What happens to them?
There's a bunch of options for the retired guide dog. In a perfect world, we would be able to keep any guide dog that retires with us. But sometimes where we live, the life circumstances we find ourselves in, if we work with a new guide dog and need to devote all of our time and energy to that relationship, a number of circumstances, sometimes we may find that it's difficult to keep the dog in retirement. Or maybe it's too hard. It's too hard to be able to focus on working with a successor guide dog when we're still emotionally grieving our retired guide dog. In that case, retired guide dogs can live with our family members, our friends. Maybe they return to their puppy raiser, or maybe they're adopted by someone who has applied with the guide dog school to give that retired guide a new home. So there's a bunch of circumstances you have to consider as the handler. What is right for you emotionally and logistically, and what is right for the dog? What makes them happy? How can you support them in that retirement? But I can tell you, we complicate it much more as human beings than they do as dogs. As long as they're loved and they get to play or lay on the couch, whatever their preference, they're pretty happy.
Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah. I feel like I've thought about this a lot more than Forley has, who's like, hey, are you gonna feed me or take me for a walk, or what's the plan, Jake? So you're right. There's a lot more emotions that come from the human side than the dog side. Not to say the dogs aren't emotional. It's a transition for them too, but just in the way that dogs process is different.
Definitely. What do you think is the best way that someone can support you as you're navigating this journey of dog retirement?
Try to avoid asking about your guide dog plans. Like, are you going to get another guide dog? When are you going to get another guide dog? I'm still dealing with the emotion of retiring Forley here. So that's my first piece of advice, is try not to ask that question. Instead, try to empathize, try to understand. It's really hard unless you have traveled with a guide dog, you've been matched with one, and you've gone through this process. It's really hard to know exactly what it feels like. There's no simulation, there's no book that tells you how someone's feeling. So the best thing you can do is, I'm sure this is a lot. Is there anything I can do to help? Those are things that I think are very helpful, rather than sort of this barrage of, when are you going to get your next guide dog? What school are you going to? Are you switching schools? Why are you waiting till then? I know you want to ask all those questions, and it might be really interesting and exciting, or but it's just more information for someone like us to sort of compile on top of thinking about more important things like, where is my guide dog going to live in retirement? Can she live with us? Can she go somewhere else? That sort of thing.
And maybe you just haven't fully processed your answers yourself. So by someone asking you these difficult questions, you're forced to process, which can kickstart that process for you. But it can also overwhelm you if you don't have a plan, or if you're still taking things step by step. Maybe you're not sure when you would like to get a successor dog, for example. Maybe you need a gap between dogs just to think about things. Or maybe you just need time to heal. And that's perfectly understandable and normal, but we don't know where every individual is at in that journey. So it's best just to ask how they're doing and ask how you can support instead of assuming what they need.
You also might support somebody by assisting them. They're switching mobility aids. So on top of the emotional aspect of having this wonderful dog in your life, the dog is also here to assist with mobility. So you're transitioning back to using a white cane.
Mm-hmm.
That can sometimes feel a lot for people, especially if somebody hasn't been practicing.
If you're a little rusty with the white cane.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had the best cane technique. Decent enough cane technique. I can float it down the sidewalk. I can do what I need to do, but it's a transition there as well. So even just offering, do you need help with mobility? Like, is there a different way that maybe you want to practice a route? Because when you walk a route with a guide dog, it's a little bit different than how you walk it using a cane, and that's a whole nother discussion. Maybe we'll do a whole video on that at some point. I don't know if that's interesting. Let us know, but it's different. I'm a little distracted by Aaron over here, who's dreaming.
He's dreaming
and growling in his sleep. But
this is the reality of having a guide dog. They do not realize when you're filming, and so they will make as much ruckus as they want in the background.
Of course they will.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, though, in thinking about how you can be supported and what's most beneficial for you.
Yep.
Forley has obviously been a fantastic guide dog, to say the least. What is Forley's next move? Is she picking up any hobbies? What's she gonna do?
I think she's picked up the hobby of professional couch warmer. Mm-hmm. She's seems to really like that.
Cookie tester.
Mm-hmm. That's another one. That's her favorite. Of course, being mindful of weight management, which we still want them to have even later in life. So we take care of them, and she's able to stay with us as long as possible.
Absolutely. And she can still go on walks with us. She can still go on a ton of adventures.
I look forward to some nice leisurely walks around the neighborhood.
Yes.
And just hanging out with her. She's a wonderful dog, and I feel privileged that she can stay with us. To the dog who has been by my side for a decade, through thick and thin, navigating life's twists and turns, challenges, opportunities, and triumphs. Forley, thank you for all you have done for me, for being the best four-legged friend a guy could ask for, a confidant, a travel companion. Thank you for being my guide dog.